Cool, man. All right. Well, hey guys, thank you for taking the time to be on my podcast. This is my first, double sort of interview with two separate artists at the same time. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to be
Two
part
different
of
time zones.
it. So yeah, everything's pretty laid back and cool. We're just gonna kind of hang out, just talk music. I want to go ahead and promote your guys' split that you both have on your band camps and also your whatever websites and stuff you guys have going on. Tell me about setting that up and then having a tour that kind of came with it. And you guys can, whoever wants to step in and talk, it's up to you guys. So,
I think that's all Kieren, or at least,
okay.
that's who got everything in motion and for real.
All right. So story was is yeah, fuck. So I guess year before last, I guess, I was doing some touring around and I played a small show up in near Lismore, in northern New South Wales, Australia. And it was it was in I was going to say in a tiny town, but it wasn't actually. There is no town. It is just a tiny hall in the middle of nowhere. And we just hired the hall, and I took my PA up there and got a couple of sort of semi-local electronic artists to play. I've always had a thing since I've been going that I will play anywhere where someone gives me a PowerPoint to plug into. And there's one person who lives near that hall, like she's on a rural property there, and she said, "Well, you say that, come and play at my hall." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, fuck, I will then." And so yeah, I got this artist Sniffer Dog from Mullumbimby played, who's like one of the sort of old techno tribe people from the 90s, still going, still doing really cool shit. And then an act called Toe Cutter, who's, yeah, again, he's been doing the breakcore thing for a long time. He's big name in Australian breakcore, but I mean, Australian breakcore isn't big, but it's
Right.
got a couple of people that are quite well known both here and overseas, and Toe Cutter is one of them. And anyway, so the show went down. It was nice, sort of, yeah. Just it was midwinter, literally midwinter's night. We had a bonfire outside, and we had cool light show and lasers, and just had cool stuff happening. And Toe Cutter played, and then afterwards, before he disappeared off into a world of his own, he said to me, "Oh, fuck, you need to meet my friend Robert.
Hmm.
You two will get on." And musically, everything you'll get on. Now, quite often when people say that, it turns out that you really don't like the person because the
Hmm.
person maybe the things that they notice in you that remind them of you are not your favorite points about yourself. So
Hmm.
I was skeptical, but I thought, oh well, fuck it. I was in. I wanted to do a split record, um, and I was like, well, fuck. I'll ask this guy Robert. I check the music and all that, and that's all cool. But honestly, the specific musical style didn't matter that much. It was more important that I don't know that the person was someone who I wanted to do a split with, and so
Yeah, something you
con-
felt some kindred with.
yeah, totally. Like fucking. I mean, to an extent, the music doesn't matter. There probably are parameters within that what
Right.
that works, but yeah. So yeah, I messaged Robert and said, "Hey, do you want to do a split EP? The label that not my label, the label that releases me will release it." Robert's like, "Yeah, cool, and maybe I could come down there and do a tour and to release it." And I got back to him and said about 2 days later and said, "You serious about that tour idea? Because if you are, I'm going to start booking it now."
Yes.
And he said, "Yep." So I did.
That's
Here
And
amazing.
we
I'm
are.
always gonna say yes to that. I can count on one hand how many times in the past 2 decades that I haven't had to set everything up, like do all the work, so that it's miracle status when anybody ever like offers that. And the same with like making the record. It's like I'm under no delusion the resources and time and like effort that go into like making any record. So yeah, I mean, I must have thanked these guys a million times by now.
That's awesome. And were these like unreleased tracks, or were they just brand spanking new? You just were like, let's fuck it and just go fresh on this one.
For me, it was a song. It was kind of like this might even be where it started. I wrote the song that I've got on that. I came up with the basis of it just after my last LP went to press.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck, what am I going to do with this song? That was kind of the start of it. So it's a completely unreleased song. It won't be on anything else. Oh, sorry, it was on one compilation from an Italian label,
Okay.
but like just a digital compilation with no physical
Right.
release. Um, so yeah, new song for me. And then yeah, Robert said I need to write a new song because I need to do. Robert, take it from there.
Oh yeah. I mean mine not really like new,
Hmm.
but it was more like wanted to do something that would be worth like putting on vinyl, not just trying to give Kieren some, throwaway tracks that I have, doesn't, I take it really seriously if somebody wants to press something onto a record. Mine are I got two tracks on my side, and it's a combination of one that's a song originally must have started making that one back in 2005 with the old Realicide band. But it's the version that I've been playing the past decade with Decide Today, uh, that I must have recorded that one still like many years ago. It just never got mixed.
Right.
So that one's from a while ago. And then it was originally written like really long time ago. It's the shit punk say it. There's like a several versions of it. Like this is the fourth version of it.
Okay.
But mainly I knew I wasn't gonna be able to do something for the record if I wasn't addressing like what's been going on for the past like year and a half. So
I was gonna
addressing
politically and
Palestinian genocide it was basically not optional. If that hadn't been going on, I maybe I would have given Kieran something completely different. Because I mean, the music I've been working on now is like really really different than um the gabber punk, like very very hostile industrial breakcore stuff that people maybe have known me for from the past. But I took a pre-existing song called Revolutionary Reason that came out in 2018 originally, and it was about fighting cops, and not just in a rhetorical fashion, but like physical resistance to police violence. And that was obviously when a lot of like a lot was going on in the streets with Black Lives Matter in the United States and Turtle Island. Uh
yeah, I grew up in the time with Ferguson when Ferguson had.
exactly. So yeah,
Yeah,
you're in
so
Missouri.
I'm very fresh,
You
very
know
fresh.
all about it.
Yes.
So that's what that track was about back in 2018. And just did an updated version um that pertains to solidarity with, Palestine in the face of, genocide at the hands of the Israeli state. It's just there was no option about if that was going to be a topic or not. I mean, it was mandatory. I mean, the entirety of 2024 for me was, I mean, it was just in the foreground of my mind the entire time, and working with like Cincinnati Palestine Solidarity Coalition, and just really being in close contact with my Arab homies back in Cincinnati, and just with like any kind of remote pulse on the news going on in Gaza and West Bank and all the countries surrounding Israel at this point.
Absolutely.
Uh, it was gonna have to be it's gonna have to be one of the tracks. So interesting thing with those is the bridge between them, and on bit of like a conceptual level, a bit of a level of like something that I had written like when I was like much, in my early 20s, paired up with something that's from right now. And I won't, go on and on about that, but it's in the liner notes of the record. And I think it's probably on my Bandcamp as well, all the text for that. And it kind of spells out that the things that bridge them, and yeah, where things have gone from the old track to what's going on now, and how I got there, you know.
Awesome. That's really creative.
Uh,
So cool. And so then you guys were like, okay, let's do this. Let's go on tour. You're leaving the United States, Cincinnati, and going straight over the UK. Are you familiar with that territory? And do you ever run into any
yeah.
sort of, knockheads or anything with people politically, or is everybody still?
In Australia?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I just figure it's a country that has, a colonial history that rivals our own in terms of brutality, and in terms of just like a really burning need for rectification.
Yeah. Even in New
Um,
Zealand. Yeah. What's been going on lately there with them trying to,
yeah.
yeah.
So no, I really don't think of this. I mean, obviously, right now my country is looking even more deranged
Yeah.
than usual, but really that's just a cosmetic difference. It always has been this way, and this is a boiling point we're always going to get to, and all empires do fall, and so maybe we're going to see that within our lifetime. It will be happening. But as far as like, any kind of like friction or anything, no, I'd toured Australia twice before, and my aim when I go there is the same as if I'm touring Turtle Island. I'm gonna try to find the people who are involved in like any kind of like resistance or liberation movement related work. If music is the prompt for that, that's cool. It lets me go see places in the world. But the people that I'm really, really trying to like connect with and stay in touch with and learn from are people doing things beyond just, obnoxious noises.
Right. Do you both match up politically, Kieren? You
Oh,
both are you
fuck
guys
yeah.
are you guys okay? Because I
Absolutely.
noticed like lyrically it seems pretty close up, but I didn't know if like
It is. I mean, a lot of my lyrics are either, yeah, political, but not really complex, deep,
no.
just sort of more my take on the world. And then the rest of my lyrics are just pretty much about how fucked in the head I am. Oh,
But
you know,
that's not apolitical, homie. That's like I
yeah,
really I really do believe that even those tracks are a testament to
where we're at.
living
Where,
under like capitalist society and whatnot. I mean, I do think that it has more in common with the overtly political than
yeah, it does, it does.
really
I
does.
kind of I I say it that way partly, because it writing a lot of songs about mental health struggle is you're kind of opening yourself up. Now, I'm not an idiot. I'm not writing stuff that's going to totally, is so clear that it's going to totally sort of make me vulnerable. But it does. It opens myself up. It says, look, I'm fucked, and this is me. And but there is a connection to where how we live, how I live, how the world is running. That you know, it's very in a totally how much of someone's sort of mental health is nature or what's around you or what's in you, and who knows, right?
Hmm.
Because there is no control. There's no control. Sort of, you can't say this is what is happening without it, because that is where we are. But yeah, there's a lot of mental health stuff in there, because it's what I struggle a lot with, various different things that have been diagnosed various different ways. But yeah, but it's me relating to the world. I find it quite cathartic to get out there and scream my inadequacies at an audience and just get that shit out there. But I also have had people say, well, fuck, I recognize that. I know that feeling. I
Hmm.
know where you're coming from. I understand that darkness, and that so yeah, even though it's about me, people do see themselves in it. And yeah, being sort of unwell, regardless of what unwell it is, in a society that is based on how much you work and how much you earn and what you can do, is a very different thing for being the same kind of unwell in a sort of caring sort of village community. So there is that political side to it. It's like, we're not allowed to be unwell for any length of time or else our productivity falls or whatever, or, we all have our versions of ourselves online. And some people don't, there's a feeling that, you can't post, you can't talk about the difficult shit. Other people, myself included, will happily talk about the difficult shit and the ugly shit. But yeah, it's health in this world, and that's where it's at. And that song, the song I got on that split record, like it's about, I mean, that came about, I was revisiting a whole lot of sci-fi and cyberpunk novels, from iRobot through to, I watched both Blade Runners. I also reread Snow Crash and Neuromancer and a few others, just on that whole kick. And yeah, just the whole thing that, all these books were, and movies, they were statements of, like, they were about androids, but they were statements on humanity and where humanity is at and how humanity relates to itself. So the song itself is sort of goes backwards and forwards between me as android and me as human, and the way that we relate, and so the rules, the from iRobot, the three rules, they're actually rules for humanity. They're not really rules about robots, and that's what set all sci-fi from there. And so it's that's where I come from. So it was just sort of that, comparing my own mental health with these sort of cybernetic kind of beings, and that's where I came from in it, with my side. So it's
No, it's absolutely brilliant, man. No, I get it. Because even now, like with the shaping of technology and AI, it's getting scary. You know what I mean?
it
Like
is.
AI's taking
It
over.
is.
We're getting robots that are AI friendly, and it's becoming scary and a shock to the system for all of us.
Well, I mean, the country that you live in is quickly heading towards being run by AI, like your larger government departments, your larger corporations, and your government itself is getting rid of as much humanity as possible, and is looking down the barrel of being very AI regulated. Now, it is tempting to take that off into the realms of, how far could that go, because it kind of
Yeah,
makes
we've all seen
for science
T2.
fiction. But it is, that's what you're heading to, when your well, your leader, not your president, but your leader, when he is the sort of the owner of a company that has some of the world's largest AI um, stuff, technology going, and he is the one who's decided. You can see that the concept is to get these departments, to get these things to run by AI, remove the words and concepts that don't want to be talked about, plug in the stuff that does want to be talked about, and just get it artificially run, so that, remove the possibility of humanity from all forms of leadership or control. And it's look, from a it's fucking interesting.
Yeah,
For a sci-fi nerd, it's fucking interesting as
yeah,
fuck, but
it all come
it's
about. Yeah,
also terrifying. AI is not looking at being, you know, the movies about AI sort of dystopian films are about, robots taking over, but it's not that sexy. It's not that cool. It's fucking nerdy as fuck, in that it just means that a faceless, non-human thing is deciding what humans should be doing, but without any, there is no face to it. And whether it's art, music, public, whatever, everything, whether it's or warfare for that matter. That's kind of the direction it's heading. A and with no real controls on it because it's fucking started up and moved faster than any regulation has been able to keep up with it. So,
Then
but interesting times, right?
even with just the government signing up and being like, I mean, whether you support Biden or not, whatever, him signing for the AI thing, and you're just like, whoa, like just, you think it's like all just company, just like a corporation just being like, okay, here's our little thing. But then once the government's in control of AI, it opens up a whole nother. Did you want to add
Yeah.
anything, Robert? Because I know.
I mean, I just can't fuck with any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know what tangent to go off with that. I'm just kind of like waiting to see what happens. And
Yeah.
I'm really not that shocked about anything that's going on. I think it's always just was going to get to this point in a
Oh,
country like this with the kind of arrogance and just power madness, you know.
believe in
Yeah,
that.
it was interesting. I was actually talking to you, Robert, just back to books. But uh, well, booking this tour about how I was, one book I was reading, which was Neil Stephenson's book, and and yeah, when I was talking about Snow Crash earlier, but yeah, it was a sort of near future kind of thing, but it just America was just a fucking basket case, but it didn't go into it much. It just was like the rest of the world was just like,
Yeah.
don't want to go there, don't want to fucking have anything to do with it. Yes, it's important in its way, but it's a fucking and it's the way it is now. Like people, the rest of the world, and okay, there's a lot of people that actually really support the way the US is going right now, but a lot of the majority of people outside are just going, well, starting to think, so how do we get on without them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do we rejig our finances, our relationships, our everything, our entire world to not really involve them that
Hmm.
much because it's far too fucking volatile.
Yeah.
And yeah, that you get there's similar shit in other places. Hungary is a good example, but there are quite a few. Um, but none of them are the scale of the US, and none of them have
Yeah.
been the US has been the center of the universe. Well, since World War II, like because it was the country that came out on top because for all the reasons, all the reasons, and that's where we've been since then. And then suddenly it's like, well, fuck, we can't rely on them actually being there from one day to the next. They might totally isolate themselves, not sell anything, not buy anything tomorrow. So what do we do in that case? And like, yeah, there's lots of shit in the media about there's meetings about how things are going to happen, all this kind of shit. But I guarantee there's a lot of backroom meetings right now saying how are we going to do things when they cut off completely? What are we going to do if they get military about it? And this shit's going to it'll be talked about now, particularly in Europe. Like that's not going to make fucking front pages, but it's going to be being talked about. No one's going to
Hmm.
be fucking taken by surprise there. Well, yes, but yeah, it's just it's a weird time, on a personal level. A year and a half ago, I was thinking about going, working on a tour of the States, and I started working towards that and financially putting stuff towards it. But now that the States is in a situation where some people who are very close to me are not allowed to go there because of the way they were born, I can't go there with a good conscience. It would feel like going to fucking South Africa during apartheid.
Yeah.
It's going to a place where some of the most important people in my life are not allowed to go to. It's not okay. And just to clarify, I'm talking the specific example is transgender people can't go to the States on their passport that they have from this country.
Yeah.
They have to it's nothing's been clarified, and part of the reason why it's not being clarified that much is because most trans people are going, yeah, well, fuck no, I
Hmm.
don't actually want to anymore anyway
Yep.
because I'm not, I don't feel like I would be safe. Um, and this government made no effort. The government in this country has made no effort to clarify the situation or in any way support their own transgender citizens, because this country has also decided to make trans people a political football in our upcoming election, because it's the safest fucking political football imaginable, because the the numbers are small, the and there are a lot of people who will just hook into it, because anyone even slightly on the right just goes, yep, fuck those guys, fuck those girls. Yeah, they just, and so it's a safe one. There's just not enough people to actually sort of make a voting block. So yeah, trans people can't go to the States, then I can't go to the States. It's
That makes
oh shit. There you are. I disappeared for a sec. So yeah, that was, where did that come from? That was, yeah, us trying to change our world view to a world without the United States, without Turtle Island. That's what everything's
I mean,
doing.
honestly, even people living in the US are trying to do that. Like, how do we,
Yeah.
have like some kind of like independent survival as much as possible outside of state activity, which obviously that's quite a puzzle that there's a lot of experimentation with.
Oh yeah, like one of my closest friends lives in a small cabin in uh I'm not going to say, in a state in the kind of northeast, in a very independent kind of way. I've also contacted him, and not joking at all, completely serious, saying, I've got a fucking spare room here. If it comes to it, then if you can get here, we'll do what we can. This country actually does offer asylum for trans people too, and that would include trans people from the States right now. Like it in the past, it's been used for your classic theocracies around the world. That's what it was aimed at. But right now, it's your theocracy, your fucking Christian nationalist country, fucking with trans people there, and they are eligible to get asylum in Australia to get the fuck
Australia
away from
must
it.
be better at better at asylum in general, just because I mean, remember the last party that we did on the tour in Sydney was all the money went to Pali refugees in Australia.
Yep,
So, leads me to
it
believe
is.
it's
It
a
is not.
valid destination for needing to get away from whatever kind of like oppression is
Look,
going
it
on where
is.
they're
I mean,
from.
asylum seekers get made scapegoats here just as much as
Sure,
anywhere
sure.
else. And whenever there's, they are like trans people as well. The great distraction, if particularly if the party on the right, if they've got nothing economically to add, then they can always just kick a few refugees for a while, and that distracts from any other policy they may or may not have. And at the same time, the more they do that, the more they drag the theoretically left-wing party towards the right, because and so yeah, they're political footballs as well. But yeah, look, Australia possibly does it better than the States. I don't know how well
Yeah, I don't
it
know.
is done there. I am friends with I'm friends with an immigration lawyer there right now, but I don't know what she sees as her future as right now. But it does, it is a thing here. But yeah, it's a long fucking way from perfect, and I don't know whether any US refugees have actually been taken in at this point, but I can see that it could well happen in the future. Um,
Sure. And we see
and
see ads for like Italy and Ireland. Like, do you have any Irish ancestry whatsoever? Do you want to get the fuck out the US?
yeah,
We can come over here. Were your parents like maybe Irish, like
yeah,
Italian? Like, come get citizenship and get the fuck
we
out.
I mean, that goes from both directions in that, yeah, it's helping people get the fuck out. And Ireland is a place that it's suffered a little, from some economic woes in fairly recently, and so getting some more productive people there would be kind of useful from them. But yeah, people will, I guess, be getting out of there while they feel they still can.
Yeah.
It's not, the borders aren't going to suddenly shut, but it's just how they feel about it. It's how safe people feel. And I don't know. Of course, I see, check various news sites and see various social media posts, but they give ideas usually of the extremes, not of the day to day. So I don't actually know what's happening there. I only know what the spectacle is mostly.
I mean, honestly, man, most people here don't know what's happening either. I mean, it's just a daily source of panic, and I mean that's by design. I mean
Oh
that's
yeah,
certainly
absolutely fucking
intended.
by design. I was just talking with Sarah, my wife, just before this about, because we were talking about the very real things, the, about trans, about the removing of words like women from scientific stuff in order, you can't get grants, which means a lot of stuff. She was talking about someone that she'd been chatting with or reading about who was working on safe abortion access for women, and they just can't get money anymore because you can't mention the word women from in your thing, this kind of thing, and some very real, genuine effects. But how the fact that these things are just bang, 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 one after the other, and you just don't have time to keep up with them, and you stick, you don't know how serious each thing is. The spectacle, the whole red, white, and blue land, taking over Greenland and calling it that. Like, yes, they want Greenland, and they have for about 100 years. It's Greenland has always been up for US domination. The US has always wanted, particularly during the Cold War. But it's also just get people focused on that, and then you can do this other shit because no one's watching the important shit because you don't know what the important shit is. It's fucking round and round and round. She goes where it stops. Who fucking knows, right?
Distractions, they're always gonna take advantage of any kind of potential for distraction. It's the same how I mean Israel just bombs the fuck out of Gaza during all US holidays, like during
Mm.
Christmas and shit. And meanwhile over there, families are getting like annihilated. Distractions, it's a big
Yeah,
part of all this game.
it's always been there, and it's something that sort of has always been talked about in the sort of political punk and whatever stuff that I read. It's just it's so much to the forefront right now, more than at any other time in my life. Well, it feels like it anyway.
Well,
And but also more than any other time in life, sort of the ability to get distraction out there
mhm.
is bigger. You can just they can distract the whole world from their fucking toilet seat from now these days. You one fucking all caps tweet and the whole world fucking shits. And yeah, we haven't been there before either. This everything's new. It's kind of weird fucking talking with my kids about the fact that I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen next. It's like you grow up thinking, like when you're little, your parents have a way of they know they have got an idea of what's going on. They've seen it before. It's all, you know, it may be shit, but they can see some kind of pattern. There's fucking nothing. I got fuck all. I have no
No,
fucking
there's a pattern here, man. We saw it in Germany in the 30s. Like I think
yeah,
there's precedent for what's going on here.
there is, but there is that definitely, and I'm not discounting from that. But the nature of it is very different. I mean, for
Sure.
one, yeah, in Germany in the 30s, Germany was quite a relatively small country,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was broke.
yeah.
Um, America's
The
neither.
circumstances are different in some ways.
Yeah, and then in some ways they're fucking heaps worse. But on the other hand, um, the information flow now, yeah, there's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of bullshit, etc., etc., etc. But the information flow is just entirely different. You know, it is it's a lot harder to do shit without people noticing in a way than it was then, because but not that people, just because people notice, it doesn't mean that they'll give a fuck or they'll do anything about it, but they'll know, in general. It's kind of, it is a different thing. And I just don't know where shit's going. I mean, and it's really hard to say. And like, the right wing, the major parties in my country, like in every fucking country, they're both right. It's just how far right they are, And but the further right, which is currently not in government, is looking to Trump because they're going, look, we can do that too. Not they can't on the same level because we have a different kind of system. We've got a different kind of parliamentary system, so it is different. And it's the same throughout Europe, throughout everywhere, and it's fuck. Sorry, I've dominated the fuck out of this thing so far. So I might just sit back and let Robert
Oh, you're
talk. Or
good.
you've asked like one question, I think.
No, it's okay.
Yes, ask a question.
Like I said, this is more of just a hang. You're good. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and shift it to kind of music and music history. We'll go ahead and start with you, Robert. Tell me about growing up, the influences musically and politically, if you like, and then just kind of take it from the beginning and your journey into Decide Today.
I guess as a teenager in the 90s, I must have started to get hip to music like right when, like Downward Spiral dropped and a lot of normal like 90s punk. Like I think Rancid's second album dropped. That's the time that I like got into music. And it's like I've always been down with more conventional punk. I mean, it's really lost its plausibility as far as like rebelliousness as I've gotten older. At this point, rock bands are just tired.
Copy and paste. Yeah, they're copy and paste. Yeah.
So but it's I like the energy of it, but I just found myself like even early on gravitating towards things with electronic elements because it just seemed like there was a lot more possibilities. Uh Even like now, when I remember like in like rock music, you'd have to use the same kick and snare and cymbals like on every track, and I'm like, that's sounds really boring. That's just there's a lot of I mean no well, I guess that is throwing a lot of shade, but
Yeah.
Having electronics involved is always going to be something that appealed to me because of the like vast potential of it. So my first concert ever was KMFDM in '97. As far as like going to see something on my own will, that's what I got to see at the time. But meanwhile, really into stuff like Subhumans when I was in high school and anarcho punk, whatnot. By the end of the 90s, some point I got hip to Atari Teenage Riot, which I'm not gonna lie, big influence, always big influence for so many people. I don't listen to it anymore. Fuck that guy. He's a fucking, just totally simping for the Israeli state. And I mean, I know he's German and it's a pretty difficult mental situation for Germans, but no, fuck Alec Empire. Like, fuck him. Dude, fuck that guy.
He's still one of my mentors, but I'm not gonna throw any hate towards you for having, an understanding. I mean, musically, I've always looked up to him. Politically, it's kind of like, take
fuck
whatever.
him. It was the thing about Alec is, and I'm not going to go on about DHR, but after like becoming homies with like Toe Cutter and Bomb 20 and like having contact with like a few other people that were around during DHR, man, I hate to say it, but it was just all a scam.
Okay.
Like he just had a whole bunch of money to play with. He got that money in ways that were like way less cool than what he says. But the more you learn about Alec and the more you talk to people who were actually like around during all that shit, you find out a lot of the things that he has to say are not it wasn't exactly how he had said. He really has a way of tailoring every statement to make himself look like cooler, make himself look like, like he's in some kind of like leadership position.
Mhm.
No, you know, rewind. I still appreciate, he's rocking the hard breaks, rocking the like really, really aggro electronic punk in the 90s. And I appreciate that. And that was a really big deal. Even if it even if it was ultimately a scam, and even if it was, a really, really weird take on anti-fascism. I don't know. When it comes to digital hardcore, I'm always just gonna say, listen to Bomb 20 instead.
Yeah.
He's still, I mean, he's a weird motherfucker, but he's the real deal. And even back then, he was like 16 years old when he made the Field Manual album.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And even then, where it's like non-lyrical and it's just all samples from like Tupac from the movie Juice,
Mm-hmm.
the content is more intentful than the ATR lyrics, where it's just these random slogans that when you pair it up against something, like Crass, it
Mm-hmm.
just seems like inane, just asinine.
Right.
It's not, there's not really much concept there. But aesthetically, sometimes the medium is the message, and I appreciate ATR from that. Moving on.
Yeah.
By the early 2000s, I found about Gabber, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So once that happened, my roots are still very, very much in industrial music, and the whole spectrum of it. We rocking Coil, be rocking KMFDM, whatever. Uh, Found out about Gabber, and it really took me down the Gabber rabbit hole. Like, I mean, it was just what I wanted to do for like a few years for
Yeah.
sure. Gabber and harsh noise, power electronics
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout the earlier 2000s. And yeah, I mean, once the Realicide band started to happen in the early 2000s, it was, yeah, very much like synth punk, harsh noise, Gabber speedcore. And that's all kind of coming from like the people that I was working with in that group, that we're all bringing our own particular interests and areas of focus to make that combination. But that's what we were doing. Realicide is a band, toured like a million times. I don't just probably at least a good 1,000 shows total. I mean, I was doing over 100 shows a year for a few of those years in a row. It crashed and burned during a European tour in the fall of October of 2010. After that, it was a while before it decided they really got rolling, but it transferred over to that not long after the Realicide band ended. People always get confused because the Realicide is still a thing, but it's a record label.
Yeah.
Maintained as like the name of the record label, but no, like that band has been gone for a really long time, and there's not going to be a band called Realicide again. But it's the record label.
Good.
Anyway, yeah, Decide Today would have been originally the first couple years when I was just like really, really just destroyed after the band broke up. I was really using it as a slogan for like propaganda art, making a lot of posters and copy scams and stuff, and just giving out like thousands and thousands of like these posters around Cincinnati and mailing them all over the place
It's
until like,
shit. Like if I can interrupt you real quick,
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
anyone who is listening to this, go there. It is the coolest patches, stickers.
Yeah.
Like if I had, disposable income right now, it would be like just getting what I can because it's the coolest shit that
Oh
you.
no, holler at me, man. Send me your address. I'll send you some
Yeah,
stuff when I get home.
yeah.
I'm
I'll
not
let
I'm
you.
not home
We'll,
right
we'll, we'll,
now.
we'll, we'll talk later. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Continue.
yeah, yeah, no
Man,
worries.
amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, it's all fairly intentful. And it's only, yeah, become more and more that way. I mean, the Real Side band was the kind of thing that was always trying to do things different, and especially different than the things that were coming from Cincinnati.
Hmm.
Though during those years, I mean, I ended up living very nomadically for a few years during all the travel. But from Cincinnati, I don't know, just emphasis on just like thinking about things like not just a formula, like we're always sober when we performed. We try to have philosophy about all ages shows, philosophy about never stay on the stage, jump off the stage right away, don't stay on the stage. Giving out lyrics posters to like everybody. Again, this is back when there was a lot easier options for copy stealing, Xerox. So yeah, a lot of posters out there with all the words on them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like things that weren't going on with many other bands that we were around back then, just to do things differently. Um, Decide Today was a continuation of that and just kind of like picked up where that left off, I think. And so while the Realicide band really wasn't of like a particularly socio-political nature, like in its early years where like we're just like teenagers, um, and gradually became something with a little bit more of a mind on like positive community fostering via like anarchist philosophy and whatnot. Decided is starting at that point and going forward, as I'm getting more and more keen on learning about just various movements like animal liberation, eco defense, learning about Marius Mason, who was arrested in Cincinnati in 2008 for Earth Liberation Front actions in the 90s and is doing currently it's like a nearly 22-year prison sentence. It's the longest of any activist busted during the Green Scare period, for all of the stuff that was done mostly in like late 90s, early 2000s, where things were like really, really spicy, like burning down lots of stuff. Anyway, that person's from my city. And so it's like kind of coming into a project where like I'm trying to like center people like that. I'm trying to really use the music and use all of its supplementary like text and art and whatnot to like direct people, not just to more crazy music. I mean, that's fine, do a record label. I like crazy music, but like direct people to something beyond that and something that's going to get them plugged into like, I mean, these days, I'm going to try to send people towards, like wherever you live and find out what kind of groups there are for like indigenous resistance and, be an accomplice to that. Obviously just anything related to like these like international war machines and whatnot, just like plug in. And music can be a starting point, but man, it really has to go beyond there. So I don't know. But I digress.
No, you're
Decide Today musically, I think took much more of a cue from like breakcore and still has a bit of a gabber punk and industrial mix over the years, but these days been working on some really, really different kinds of stuff. It's I don't know, Kieren's heard a lot of it by now on the tour. It's a little bit less it's a lot less aggro and it's a lot more of a industrial, almost like dark wave kind of quality to it, but
right.
it's probably
Sorry,
going
not
to be
to
something
interrupt,
that's going to
but
end up. Yeah, go ahead.
that's what I noticed. Musically, you kind of shifted, and it kind of resembled a little bit of like that sort of. I'm gonna compare it to Skinny Puppy, but it's got. I
Sure.
heard a lot of the samples and a lot of the sort of soft synths or anything like that kind of vibe to it. I heard the
Yeah.
sort of sound shift in the
Yeah.
new
No,
stuff.
that's
But you,
all very it's all very I'm very conscious of that. I mean, and I mean, yeah, I thank you for mentioning Skinny Puppy. I feel like I'd be really answering your question like wrong if I didn't give them a shout out. Definitely an all-time fave, like more than even any of the others that I've mentioned thus far. Because strange shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. And
And then
weird.
it was between Skinny Puppy and Subhumans. Those were my first exposures to uh music that was advocating for animal rights in the 90s. So that was a starting point for that for me as well. But yeah, I don't know. Now here I am.
Oh, no, it's cool. And but I was gonna say you were talking about certain foundations or whatever for politically or socially. Send them to me and I will add them to the descriptive link. So
Oh, right
anyone
on, yeah.
who comes to this, and you got links, I'll put them right in there. No matter how many times where you're like, oh yeah, I'll send this to them. I'll
Oh yeah, yeah. No
automatically
worries,
update it.
man. I'll give you a couple links. And
Yeah,
yo,
just send me
send me
whatever you
your
want.
address. I'll send you some mail for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you got it. So no worries. All right, man. Yeah, if there's anything else you want to add, we'll jump to Kieren about his music history and.
No, I think I write a lot off enough stuff. I mean, I could go on and on about like I like this person, I like that band.
Oh yeah.
But you get the idea. I want to
Yep.
do crazy shit that's about real shit. Period.
No, it's
Yeah.
perfect. Go ahead, buddy.
So yeah, fuck. All right.
You have a
I've
resume.
been
You got like 35 years or something like that with just.
yeah. Like I did my first band was I guess in about 88.
Mhm.
Um, I've been playing music all my life. Um, I've always been obsessed with it. It's all that I've ever wanted to do. I I think I did my first live performance as something I'd written at age about 5. And I've just always been into it. So, and as a young kid, it was what I heard on the radio and or what I heard my parents play and all this kind of thing. Um, and then some point in early high school is I met these kids, my age or a year older, who introduced me to the wonders of punk rock. And it started with the Clash. Everyone's got that one fucking transition band. That was it for me. But from there, they were sort of discovering all that hardcore stuff. MDC, that first fucking MDC record, it still fucking blows my mind politically, musically, everything about it. Um, that also the sort of less political, but things like Black Flag and suicidal tendencies. And then when I was 15 years old, I was in a psychiatric place for a few months, and one night nurse came in with a tape. They had taped off a radio show, punk radio show, which I didn't even know there was punk radio shows at that point. And he had taped it for me and brought it in for me, and it had first time I'd heard Subhumans, Conflict, all this shit, and my whole fucking world just changed. That nurse was fucking amazing. He also built me a bass amp and brought that in so I could play bass while I was there.
That's a cool dude, man. Wow.
Fucking legend. Just getting this for one, the sound of Subhumans and Subhumans, and then it was a couple of songs off the Ungovernable Force album, Conflict as well, and just the sound of it, and the immediacy of it, and the politics of it, and everything about it just fucking grabbed me, and I never looked back. And so it totally changed my view of punk rock and what I wanted to do. And from there, crash and these things that also became very, very important parts of my life. But that is where it started. I was not long out of that hospital when I first started to try and do bands. I played bass essentially because my best mate played guitar, and so I could jam with them, and we tried to do bands, and we did do bands, and we got drunk mostly, but we got drunk with instruments, and we sometimes got drunk with instruments with an audience. So we call them bands. And that, and then from there, like I lived quite a sort of transient life. I traveled a lot. I was in New Zealand at this point. I was traveling a lot. I was hitchhiking around a lot. And then, I got, long story short, well, it's not going to be short, not the way I talk. I hitchhiked down to Wellington for the NZABS, New Zealand Anti-Vivisection Society World Day for Laboratory Animals protest, which was a big thing on the political punk calendar in New Zealand. And there was always there would be a protest, there'd be a march, and then there'd be a gig afterwards. And most of the gigs were put on by this band called S.M.U.T, who were kind of probably the most important punk band in New Zealand at the time. So I went down, and just before the show, this is long before emails and shit, but they got a phone call. People in S.M.U.T got a phone call saying, from their bass player saying, well, I'm not going to be there and I quit. And they got two local kids to fill in for the night, and they did a few shows. And then afterwards, Simone, the singer, said, asked me if I knew any bass players who wanted to join. I said, yeah, me. And she said, yeah, but in Wellington. I said, well, I can be in Wellington. I lived in Christchurch at the time, which was on the other island, and I went back, packed my shit up, and moved to Wellington and joined S.M.U.T. That was the first band that I recorded anything with, and first band I did touring with, that I toured with. And it was, quite a, it was just, spiky head, studs and spikes, punk rock, but very sort of socio-political kind of side of it, rather than just sort of angry fashion punk side of it. And and we toured, and I just went, fuck, I love this. And we were booking tours by letter and telephone, landline phones, and then that band, we packed up and left New Zealand and moved to Australia together, and I just never stopped, just kept on doing more bands. I've always just looked out for new music, and I still do. It's so easy now, but I just try and find new music, and get influence from everywhere. Some point in the 90s, I really started to get more into electronic stuff, or punk stuff with electronic side to it. Some of the same bands that Robert was mentioning, but also just, and like politically conscious hip hop, hearing fucking Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisy when that came out, hearing, and, Beatniks before it, of course, and just this heavy, that, yes, it was hip hop, but it definitely felt very punk, and it was political as fuck, and it was just where my head was at, and it was just like, this is fucking gold. But at the time, I was still just playing bass in punk bands, and that's fine. I tried to get some other stuff going, but it never really went anywhere. Then in about 1999, well, in exactly 1999, not about, I left Australia under interesting circumstances, but I left Australia and went to the UK, and found most punk gigs that I went to were really boring. But what I did go to a lot of were fucking squat parties, like hardcore techno squat party stuff. And I was just going to them. I met up with these young French and Italian fucking ravers, just traveled all over the place, just going and shit with them. And the best techno was always made by old punks, or young punks, either way. And that's what was happening there. A lot of the stuff was being put on by people who were not that different from me, and I just fucking really got into it. And again, it took me a while, but I was still playing. The music I was playing was still pretty standard punk, but a lot of what I was listening to wasn't. And I still listen to heaps of just, guitar punk stuff, and I love it. Absolutely fucking love it. And, I'm listening to new bands every day, but I'm checking out new shit. But I just love the, electronic punk with something else to it. And punk is a very broad term in that case, whether it's fucking just got a record package day before yesterday of some Slovakian fucking punk hip hop stuff, and fucking incredible. I don't understand the language at all, but it's really easy to know what it's about, because they wear their fucking politics on their sleeve, and it's cool as fuck. And whether it's that, whether it's fucking the 200 plus crew doing benefit shows with their breakcore kind of stuff, whether it's whatever, I just love people doing interesting shit with music and meaning it. And so for me, I started, like, I was in a band, a hardcore band, that in 2000 or whatever, whenever it was, and playing bass. We were doing, we were doing cool shit. We're touring a lot and playing a lot. And then COVID hit, and we couldn't jam for a while, so started doing some solo shit, just because I go a bit funny in the head if I don't play music. And first thing I did is I just recorded a bunch of songs and sent them to friends around the world, to put vocals on. And whether it was, I was just kind of learning how to create sounds myself. Then, like, I've been playing guitar for a lot and this, but learning what I could do. And, when I listen to the recordings now, they're pretty simple, and that not all of them are exactly well, they're not what I would do now when I've learned a lot more, but the ideas were there. I was sending them to people who were in different degrees of, a lot of them locked down from COVID themselves. So, some people actually had access to studios. Some people sang into their phones. One friend, he was in Melbourne, and he told me about being in it, like doing it in his fucking wardrobe because it was the quietest place, listening to the song on one phone and singing into another phone, and then sent that to me. Another friend makes lathe cut records, and he listened to it on his phone and then direct recorded onto a lathe cut record, like live singing onto it, and then posted me the fucking record. And then I put that on, and just
Pretty cool.
just so many options for cool shit. And then when that finished, because I knew how many songs I wanted to do, and so when that was finished, I just like, oh well, fuck, I enjoyed the hell out of that. I'm going to do something new, but next thing has to be something that I can tour with, something I can play live, which means not a million instruments. I can't do guitar and synth and bass in this. So I thought, okay, it's going to be synth and drum machine and sampler, and I'll do it. And that's what happened. And I forced myself to learn how to sing. Well, sing. I can shout, basically how to shout in a way that I can play 30 shows in a row without fucking my voice. And to shout in a way that I can listen to it without cringing too bad. So yeah, and then here we are.
That's awesome. And then so when you guys come in and start working on a track, Robert, I'll start with you. Do you have like a notebook? Do you use your phone to get lyric ideas, or is it just kind of like improvisation? What's your usual take when it comes into working on a song or working on an album? What's your usual format?
I mean, for Decide Today, I'd say like subject wise, I mean, I'll try to think of something that I feel like should be a song that maybe nobody's done it like that yet. I'm trying not to like just do the same as
Copy paste, yeah.
everybody else. Yeah, I mean, I want to offer something new because otherwise I might as well just go, I don't want to just listen to who did it better before. So, I mean, some of the topics are things that have been addressed by like plenty of other people, like interaction with police or like um dietary choices pertaining to like animal liberation. But like the police in this case, instead of just talking about, oh, the police beat people up, they're bad, it's like, well, that has been established. We are aware. Um, so the lyrics of that one is just it's literally just if you ever see a little pamphlet about like what to do if you get stopped by cops, like the magic words and like how to conduct yourself, that's gonna be like most advantageous to you in that circumstance. Like the lyrics are just that. I mean, it's almost you could just put the pamphlet of like know your rights, like what to say when you get stopped by the police, and then that's pretty much just that in like lyric form. So I
It's funny, it
mean,
just reminds me of Vicious Circle doing that song on a split with Youth Brigade all those years back, and it is just music, and it's literally them reciting your rights when you're stopped by cops,
yeah,
and it's just
exactly. See,
it is
see, they already
it's
got me.
fucking great.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like subject wise, I mean, it's my attempt to add something new. At least, so yeah, a lot of those songs are going to be like punk rock bands, like keyword rock.
Mhm.
Uh, so I figure at least I can maybe bring something new to the table in terms of like whatever this weird industrial hybrid type of thing that me and Kieren do. Want to have those kind of songs like within that world as well. I mean that's the starting point as far as the style. I mean it's going to be just whatever interests me at the time. I mean I don't want to be the problem I have with like performing is like I don't want to be bored by my own music. I don't want to like make something in a way that I think maybe other people will like it, but that it bores me. Like I can't. Like I just don't want to do it. Got to keep on switching up my set list too many times on tour just because it's like I get bored of playing the same songs. I got to remind myself, oh, well, I've never been to this city before. They never heard those yet. I'm like, yeah, but I did like 20 times just now, so I got to switch it, man. Uh, I mean, it's fairly free form, but it's just going to be true to the influences I have and true to what I want to see more of in the world. And I mean, there is criteria for Decide Today. I'm gonna eyes on the prize. You're not gonna see pictures of cops like busting somebody's head. You're gonna see it's gonna be the other way around. I want images of victory. I'm not gonna have images of like clear-cut forests and just just domination by like bastard rulers of the world. I want
It's
imagery
essentially
that's
something we clicked over. Like we talked about. We both come from the
yeah,
same place. I don't want to have people getting fucked up
yeah.
visually in
We've
my
seen that.
work or
There's
something.
too
Yeah,
that's
it's
on so
done.
many albums, so it's like it's
And
turning. I'm trying to have like I mean the art that I did for the record with Kieren in the corners of it, it's somebody punching through a cop's riot helmet. And there's another person wearing a keffiyeh with a slingshot, and then there's et cetera, et cetera. But there's like little cartoons on the cover art, and that's my criteria. And like if me and whoever I'm working with on the music, it's just gonna come out however me and my friends make it come out, and it's gonna probably just sound like you know hostile, but for good reason, I
yeah,
think.
Not like more of like a mobile studio kind of, because I can see, I mean, Kieren, you have the studio in the background and stuff. Do you
yeah.
have mobile, like whatever I can bring with me and record with me on the
Oh
plane?
no, I'll just be chilling at the crib.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
Didn't know.
mean, there's no rules. It's like
Right.
it can be it can be software, hardware. I mean, really,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
vocal
Gatekeeping
recording is like
fucking
the main thing.
equipment is fucking stupid. Fuck yeah, gatekeeping equipment, what you are and aren't allowed to do music with, is fucking stupid and it's
Yeah.
elitist as fuck. I am lucky in my position in life right now where I can have some stuff that costs a bit more. But I have seen someone fucking make music live on a phone and sing and fucking tear it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And that was on free software on a phone too, because he had fucking nothing.
It's the power of
And
presentation.
yeah, and that's what it's about. I do what I do. I do most of what I do on hardware basically mainly because if the sort of infinite possibilities of software leaves me paralyzed by choice, I like to have some limitations or else I never finish things. Um, yeah. Sorry, I just took over from you, Robert,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
no, please. That's a good
it's just
segue.
that's something really important to me. It's just the equipment, the specific equipment doesn't matter. And I see it like, oh, fuck, if you've ever, oh my God, joined a fucking synthesizer or a drum machine fucking group on social media and it's just full of cunts and they're just sorry you're in America and they're just fucking if you don't own this $10,000 piece of equipment then you're not making real music and like
Right.
fuck that shit, it's fucked. Yeah,
Well, I mean, Kieran, if you're not playing guitar, you're not making real music. I mean, we
yeah,
both know that, so.
yeah, yeah. it's yeah, it's yeah. But I'm to take the same question. I write my music comes about. Something will come to mind, and sometimes it's a sentence, sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's a drum beat because I'll be fucking banging away on the steering wheel in time with something that's going wrong in the fucking engine. Sometimes it's a sound in a train or something, and I'll go, I hear that sound and I want to make music out of that sound. And I'll hear that fucking noise or that thumping or that something, and I just keep going and going. One of my songs started with I just kept on getting um the German words for 45, 54. So 45 40 going around over and over, and the rhythm behind that, and I wrote the whole song based on those words. Another time, my new album, like I literally saw this pepper grinder in a store in the shape of a swan, and it just said Swan Grinder, and I'm just like, Swan Grinder, that's the best fucking name
That's so funny.
ever.
Man, you're
And
funny.
so I decided, what does Swan Grinder mean? And it's like, it's people, it's us, we chewing up the beauty in this world, grinding it into
Yeah.
fucking mush and destroying everything. And so yeah, my new album's called Swan Grinder, and
That's a
it's
good track too. That track goes hard as fuck.
cheers, man. And yeah, it was based on a pepper grinder. Things come to me. Other times I'll get the idea of percussion first, and on the not on the last album, but the one before that, I went down the end of the road. There's an old rubbish tip. It's not a rubbish tip anymore. It's all capped off and that. But there's sort of a few like car bodies and washing machine parts just in the forest down the end of my road. And I just went down there with a fucking little Zoom recorder and beat the shit out of stuff, and then came back and then wrote music to that. And whether it's like keeping that live recording and writing around it, or whether it's getting the sound of that bang and putting it into the sampler and making it like that changes up. But it's just, yeah, one thing starts and then everything joins to that. And I don't know until it happens exactly how the song is going to come out, whether it's going to be a slow, drony gothic song, or whether it's going to be high speed punk rock or what. And yeah, and then sometimes it's a sample. I like every electronic musician I know, pretty much my computer is set up for one touch recording for anything that it plays, which basically is using Audacity with a loop recorder, so that when you're just fucking doom scrolling fucking Facebook reels and you're just seeing shit and you're just like bang, they said you hear something and you're just like one button, record that, and that will set off the song. And then sometimes I don't even end up using that fucking sample. It's what started it, but then I end up taking that out and putting something else in, but that's what the concept came from. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I get excited.
I work in a factory, like I work at General Motors and working around car, metal. And it just, I mean, I have my phone, and if I'm not doing anything and we're kind of on a break, sometimes I'll do like field recordings where I'll just kind of set up my phone and just let the factory be the noise, or I'll just go around and start sampling like and just, tinks and, all that. Just like, believe me, I get it, dude. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
You gotta watch out though. Kieren already knows. I tried to record I don't know what beach we were at, but man, I tried to record that ocean, and I
and that
don't know what
ocean
it was.
climbed into your recorder.
I thought it was put in a safe place because there wasn't any water. There was just one wave that just came. It was like a freak wave, just got the thing and just filled with only one. It filled it with sand. It was filled because that night at the before the gig, like I bought a screwdriver from the bartender and opened it up. Thing was just full of sand. So that thing, I mean,
It there.
yeah, no, I got the the new one, yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
That's awesome, dude. Tell me.
That was a fucking beautiful part of the world, though, wasn't it? That beach.
It certainly was, yeah.
Tell me about, okay, you guys have been like touring around. Tell me about how the scene has been looking. I mean, I'm not really sure what kind of, do you get a lot of the punks? You get a lot of the electronics, industrial goths? Is it just a little bit of everybody? Okay, tell me about the scene and how it's kind of evolving, or, whatever your experience is with that.
Okay, what I play seems to fit with a really wide range of people. I originally thought it would fit with no one because it doesn't fit with anyone, but it's kind of the opposite. So, like, I toured this country with Attrition from UK, which are like one of the founding industrial bands, and like I played support for them, but I also played synth for them on that tour. And playing that was mainly the sort of gothic darkwave shows, and it worked with Schkeuditzer. And then I play with punk and crust and grind bands, and it works. And then I played with some like doom metal bands, and it works. I don't know. perfect gigs for me are fucking, yeah, all ages, fucking not in a pub, not selling beer, fucking just, and like that fucking show in Brisbane, man, just like 80%
Yeah.
of the audience was probably underage. They were just hanging in the park and drinking
They were stoked, man. They were having a great time.
irresponsibly, but it was fucking cool. And you know, as I tour a lot, like there are some places that I play, and it's like everyone in the audience is like a punker that's my age, and it's like this scene is gonna fucking die really soon because there's no young people. And then I'll play somewhere like whether it's Brisbane, then whether Adelaide's kind of the same, or like I played in fucking Oslo in Norway a couple of years ago, and like most of the audience were really young and they were super enthusiastic. They were involved with organizing. There were young bands playing, not just all old fuckers. And it's just like, yeah, that's where there's life. That's where there's a future. And you know that's just awesome to see. And yeah, and like most of the young people that I know, they don't give a fuck about genre. They really don't. Like, yeah, they might be fucking dressed in studs and spikes, or but their friends might be dressed in fucking totally different. It's genre non-specific, it's gender non-specific, it's fucking racial
It's
non-specific. They don't give a fuck. They are with their
pluralistic.
crew and they're just doing shit. And it's fucking great. And you know, there's this group of young people in Sydney that they're up the front of every fucking show. They're up the front of that second last show in Sydney, and they'll dance their fucking asses off to any band, and and they're just fucking cool, and they're the future. I'm fucking not. And yeah, that crossover is important. I don't want to play to a whole lot of old fucking rock dads, even though I'm an old rock dad. It's yeah.
Man, I don't know if I said this to you, Kieren, but when people have been asking me how the tour went, something I realized like afterwards, like once I got back here and was like looking back on it, thinking like, how could I describe this particular tour? I do not know another tour that I've been on, and that's a lot of them.
Mm.
I do not know another tour that I've been on where none of the music sucked.
Yeah, it was fucking
Like
amazing, wasn't
some of it was more my thing than others, but there was nothing. I cannot think of anything in all that time that
it?
was
Yeah,
something that I was like, oh, I really don't want to hear this. Like it was all at least decent, if not amazing.
yeah, yeah. It was
And that,
amazing.
there's a reason for that, man. It's you. You're the reason for that.
Yeah,
Because
good.
we were like meeting up with like our people, so to speak. We're meeting up with like people coming from like punk and anarchism and whatnot that maybe were doing electronic music, or at least maybe they were in bands that weren't just like bigoted, closed-minded motherfuckers, you know. It was because of the company that you keep and who those people are going to bring around that made the tour like that. So I don't know if I've ever thanked you for that in specific, man, but like you nailed it. And like it's setting quite a high standard for like what I'm hoping to strive for in the future. Cause man, it's like usually on tours, it's like some of the music just you're just like, man, I really that is just polluting my mind, and I wish I had not experienced it. And that just did not happen on this tour. And I
Yeah,
didn't
man.
realize it until I got home. I was just like, wow, like I don't know another time that has been like thoroughly the case.
It was a really, I mean, it was a big tour for Australia. Like, we ended up 17 performances in about 17 days or something. And which, in the States, that's fairly normal, but here it's not.
It's
And
most
it's,
of your cities.
Yeah.
yeah. And we're just, this is the thing. And it was another thing that I clicked with Robert. I will play anywhere. And I mentioned this earlier, and I mean that absolutely sincerely. If someone's got something, a PA, I'll just say not a stereo, a PA that I can plug into, I will play. And most of the time, if they don't, I'll bring a PA if necessary. I with some notice, not last second. And I mean it. And I love playing, whether it's fucking in the forest or under a bridge or in someone's backyard or in a shed or a fucking lounge room. I love it. It's what punk rock is to me, and it's what punk rock has always been to me. Punk rock, punk rock is not commercial clubs and pubs. It's, there are places that pub gigs are more standard. There are places with really cool pubs. Melbourne is actually one of them.
Yeah,
Melbourne's
it
got some
really
fucking
is.
amazing bars to play in, but and they don't feel like bars. They don't feel like pubs in the same way that most pubs in Sydney are just fucking shit.
Because they
Most of
got a
them.
sense of community that
Yeah,
normally a bar venue seems to be lacking because you come in and you feel like, oh, well, I'm in a business and
yeah,
all they want is for me to buy drinks and it's business only. The ones that we
yeah,
played were businesses too, but you could tell that the basis of it was fostering
community.
community, and that makes a
Yeah,
big difference.
absolutely. And if you come in and are not consuming, they're not going to kick you out. They're not going to make you feel unwelcome. You don't. Whereas a lot of the bars in Sydney, if you're not actually actively drinking alcoholic
Yeah.
drinks, you're not really that welcome there. They won't kick you out because they're not allowed to, but you'll know.
Yeah.
But and then in Europe you play all those fucking, whether they're actually squats or whether they're just community setting, they're bars, but they're non-commercial.
Yeah.
You hardly ever play commercial pubs in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens, and when you do, they're like what Robert was talking about. They're very community based. They're not beer barns. They're not your fucking, you know. God, there's a difference, and yeah, I just wanted to play that, and so that's what this tour was, and that's not necessarily the most economically viable way to tour, but I don't really give a shit, and in the end of the day, it kind of turns out that it is.
It was
It
fine. It
it
did
was
great.
Yeah, and yeah, so whether it's fucking playing in a, like, in that empty substation in Brisbane, to like a queer space in Lismore, to um house show in Kempsey, which was loose, and to wherever, it's going where people are, because people are not necessarily going to go where you are, so it's taking it out there, and yeah, fucking love it.
What's your,
So yeah.
you would know a little bit, like touring the States versus touring over in Europe and everything like that. Where do you see a bit of a difference? I mean, culturally and, with the community and everything like that in the system? Like with the fans and like everybody who shows up, because
I
I know
mean, the main difference that I know is like the squat scene is wild over there. Like we don't have, I mean,
we
that kind of
don't.
thing exists.
It's hard
I
to
mean,
find it
there's a
here.
little bit of it in little pockets around the continent, but the squat scene in Europe is going to make you jealous. That's all there is to it. Like you were at first you're gonna be like, wow, this is amazing, and then you're gonna get mad, like, why can't we do this?
Everyone comes back from European tours and goes, I'm going to do that at home. And it doesn't translate. You
No,
can't do it here.
not here.
You can't
No.
do it in the States. It's just different.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, I mean, I mean, where I live, our country is, you know, way too committed to sustaining a housing crisis to allow squatting. And so you can see it's like they could let it happen, but then they'd have to give up the housing crisis. And, we can't, as Americans, we cannot do that.
Well, we used to have, I mean, I don't know, because I mean, it's hard because I live in Missouri and everything like that. And so we don't get a lot of, we used to have basement shows. We used to have like pavilion shows. We used to just kind of anywhere we can plug in and play, we would do it. And I don't see it as often as, I mean, do you see it in Cincinnati or do you just
And that
see more?
it is weird. Yeah, house shows like basement spots used to be like the main thing.
It's the best thing ever. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, the basements still exist physically.
Obviously.
I don't know because yeah, you're right. It has become a lot less prevalent, and that's weird. I don't know what I'm sure there's some kind of sinister reason that I'm not aware of,
Right. But it's just,
Uh,
it's weird to see that I mean, most places here, it's like either you have a name or you have to be genre specific to play. Because
Yep.
being of electronic music, it's like you got to be a DJ or you're absolute shit. Like
Yep.
you got nowhere to play. And so, I'm jealous knowing that over there in in Europe and stuff like that, it's prevalent. I mean, everybody I've talked to says Europe is the best place to play.
Yeah. I mean,
Everybody's welcoming.
Yeah.
there's a lot of
I mean,
opportunity, and in certain areas there's a lot of money that you can use to go tour the places that there's not a lot of money. I mean, like
yeah,
that's what I've been told by plenty of my friends over the years, and it's somewhat true. It's like you tour West Europe, or no, yeah, tour West
yeah,
Europe
yeah,
so you can afford to tour East Europe. Because you
yep.
go to like Romania and whatnot, you're not, there's the money's going to be very, very humble and scarce, but you're using the money you got from like
That
Austria,
said, they'll have no money, whether it's down through the Balkans or even in Italy, that they'll have no money. The entry fee might be €2 or whatever, but they will not let you pay for drink or food or somewhere to
Yep.
stay. They will look after you like
Hospitality is
it's
fantastic.
unbelievable. And
They make sure that you understand that they want you there.
yeah,
And sometimes
absolutely.
that's, I mean,
I've never heard of that in venue. Venues just like show up. They're like, hey, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it feels
yeah,
like a
yeah, it's
whatever
like
vibe.
there's nothing implying that they actually even want you there. And sometimes it's even okay, you can play a venue with like a monetary guarantee. And so it's like, okay, you're getting paid. The person paying you, in their head, they're just like saying like, fuck off, I want to go home, you
Yes,
know?
yes,
So,
everybody.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know, doing a
yeah, in
couple of
Europe,
those so you can go do a string of ones where there's not so much money, but like just the spirit of the whole thing is more proper. Like, I don't know. It's a bit of a juggling act, you know?
yeah. So like I'm in the middle of booking a Europe tour, Euro tour for later this year, and yeah, it's like most places will give you at a bare minimum dinner, somewhere to play, somewhere to sleep, and breakfast, and that's every night.
Yep.
And like you play places, and they're like, "I'm really sorry, we didn't have a chance to make you breakfast, so here's some money. Just go to the store or whatever." And it's fucking amazing. And yeah, you know, I like touring everywhere. Toured Japan last year, which I've done a few times, and that's amazing. So it's a totally different thing. Yeah, but it's amazing in its own way because every whatever music you're into, there's someone doing it to the extreme and better than you've ever heard in Japan. It's just
Man, dude. Oh
that's
my
the
God,
nature
don't
of it.
get me started.
It's a
Yeah.
fact. Yeah.
Every single band or act you play with is fucking amazing and perfect, and it just blows my. But there's and like the best band you've ever seen in your life will play first, and you're just like, what's going on? And it's just and it's just amazing, And I'm hoping to go back there again next year, because it's so good. It is, like 'cause when I tour, I play punk shows and I play electronic noise shows and I play but it is usually yeah, it's a bit crossover. I'm not sure that the punk shows in Japan worked as well as me just playing with some of the fucking incredible experimental and noise artists over there. It's just because there are just so many people that things don't cross over as much. It's just that's the nature of it. It's when every scene is big, there's not as much need for people to check out other shit, I guess. But yeah, so I'll go back there. But yeah, this year I'm going off weirdly to play in Thailand in a couple of months, um, which should be fun. I've never played there before, so that'll be cool. Because I'm going over there. I'm playing synth for attrition over there, and then doing a Schkeuditzer show as well, and then yeah, Europe later in the year. Um, Touring makes me happy.
Yeah. I mean, I love doing shows. If I could do them more, that would be great. But unfortunately, with just the circumstances around here, and I'm hoping politically, if things are going one way, then maybe musically things will go another way. Like there'll be a certain,
Man, you can only hope so.
it's like a
Yeah.
sense of rebellion or some kind of way of rising up would, kind of shine a little bit of light in this sort of weird sense of
I
darkness.
mean, those bands that we were talking about earlier that got us so into this, Crass, MDC, all these, they were happening because the fucking world was a dark fucking place politically. And yeah, so I can only hope that, yeah, more comes out like
And
that again.
it's gonna be important though that it takes like a contemporary form
Yeah,
because
not just music.
the reason why there's not like a bunch of new Jello Biafras, for example, people always be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have more music like that now because of how the world is." It's not gonna happen if it's being made by people who are setting out to be that guy.
Yeah,
You can't do it because then all you're gonna do is come out sounding like a cover band, and your ideas are gonna be just vapid because they're not. There's no substance. You're just imitating an aesthetic.
yeah,
So I mean, the best stuff I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that is coming up. That's kind of like what Kieran's describing. I mean, it's gonna take a different form, but it is going to be like Dead Kennedys. It's just not going to
yeah,
sound like it, and it shouldn't sound like it. But like the the sharpness of the content and intent, like will be there, and I have been seeing that in things, and those are the people I try to stick with. You know,
yeah,
Stick with the community,
absolutely.
see if it can branch out and kind of find roots and just kind of keep branching out. And I always encourage people, I'm like, keep digging, go on social media. I don't know what you got to do, but you know dig for music that you're craving, dig for music that
Yeah,
you love, and find the underground. Stop worrying about what's on Spotify.
oh yeah,
Whatever.
fuck it,
Look on Bandcamp if
thank
you must, and then from there just keep. The internet's fucking amazing and
yeah.
don't use it as much as they should.
Man, if I had one advice for somebody as far as like finding out like what's going to be the new Crash, the new Dead Kennedys, like look for hip hop.
Yes.
yeah.
Like
I was
the
going to say
punk
exactly
bands,
the same thing.
the majority of punk bands are going to fail at that
Yeah.
because their goal is just to be something from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, there's going to be some great ones too, but they're going to be a staggering minority. Hip
yeah,
hop is the people's music.
Yeah.
Like more than any like mode of rock and roll ever can be because hip hop is like the epitome of like you make it once
DIY.
you've done it, you know?
Yeah,
It's not stagnant. It's not like
of
uh
course. There is also the top end of the town of that shit as well. The bullshit commercial, whatever. And for a lot of
yeah.
people, that's all they ever hear, and that's what they think hip hop is.
That is
Just
tragic.
fucking yeah. Uh,
It's like saying that you're into punk, but you've only heard like Avalon
Like
or
182 or
Dean or
Green Day.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like
And there are a
it's
lot of people
sad.
like yeah. But yeah, no, and it's back to what I was saying a million years ago. It's DIY and it's equipment. You can do hip hop with your voice
Yep.
and beats on a phone. You don't have to
Self-constructed
own
alternatives from
anything.
very limited resources.
Yeah, and that's the best stuff is always going to come from that because
Always.
it's from necessity and because someone isn't going to do make that if they've got nothing to say, if they don't have that. People who are making shit just with the most basic stuff are doing it because they've got a burning fucking desire to do it.
Yep.
And so that's always going to be better. Yeah, or better. Yeah, that's always going to have that immediacy, that
It's going to have
importance to
more
it.
potency to it.
Yeah, yeah, because it's people really just go, I need to fucking say this, and so I'm gonna fucking say it, and I don't care that I don't have a guitar and an amp and this, I'm just gonna fucking say it. Um, and it's fucking poetry. It's but it's poetry with a beat, which means it doesn't, it's just yeah. Yeah, and you can use an old beat. You don't even have to write your own beats. And that's totally fucking okay as well. You can go, I love that beat. I'm going to play that on my phone. I'm going to plug that into the PA, and I'm just going to fucking go over the top of it, and it's fucking gold.
True
Yeah,
that, man. Take that beat.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Bring that beat back.
I've noticed and I've noticed that more people are open about, you know, let's go back to mental health where people are more open to talking about it online, but I'm like, take that and make it creative. Get your
Yeah.
ass out there. If you like music, take that and filter it into music or filter it into art, whatever you got to do instead of going, I mean, it's okay to open up and talk about it. I encourage everybody to talk about it, but the internet, it's just going to hit a wall. Take it and be creative with it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and for people who can, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I
of course.
also know people who struggle with mental health stuff that could never do what I do if
Yeah,
they had just, and I know people who are creating really cool stuff that have long periods where they can't do things because they'll be back institutionalized or because their brain will have just melted down and they just can't do it. But then on those occasions when it comes out, it's fucking incredible. I'm I'm a talkative motherfucker. I talk like
okay.
I'll talk
Talk it
both
up.
your ears off,
Yep, that's fine.
and I'm good at verbalizing stuff. And writing and words, and so I can take my shit and turn it into something that is loosely speaking entertainment. And it's yes, there is a deeper meaning to it, and it is, I hope, in some way it's occasionally helps someone else, but it is entertainment as well. Not everyone can do that for various reasons, but yeah, look, the fact that it is not being struggling with mental health doesn't have the stigma it had when I was a bit younger.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
and but I know what you're saying about this. Yeah, yeah, it is great when you can create something, whether it's music, whether it's art, and all the greatest artists, the greatest, most world-renowned, visual artists have always struggled with mental health, and it's the same with fucking music. And all the greatest music is not from people who are completely confident and have no issues to deal with. It's all from people who are fucking battling demons of some kind or another. And yeah, I don't know. It's for me. It's my what I write. I try and be. I don't try and be. It's just what comes out is how I actually feel. It's honest. I don't really write stuff that is about something theoretical. It's how I see it in my head. Um, all power to people who want to write fucking metal about demons and conquering goblins and shit. That I got no fucking problem with that, but I can't write. I can't write it. And I can't write love songs. Or whatever either. It's just and love is beautiful. I've been married for 25 years, but I can't write songs about that. It doesn't work. I don't know. When I write songs, it tends to be about the darkness. I did write one happy song, and that was about dancing and having fun with your friends before they die. And that's about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that's anything. How long do I got you guys for? Am I stepping over anybody's time or anything like
I'll
that?
probably wind it down pretty soon. I got like a
Yeah.
real early morning tomorrow.
No, no worries. Okay.
Yeah. I need to go off and, well, honestly, I need to go eat dumplings.
Okay, that's fine.
Fucking
Let me do
There's a
here's
Fair
market down
enough.
the road that's on for another hour and a half, and I want to go there and eat dumplings with my family. My oldest child leaves Sydney end of this week, goes back to Adelaide where he's studying, and so yeah, we're all going to traipse off and get dumplings together because dumplings are life. Um,
usually what I'll do with the podcast, I'll kind of leave it with one thing. Each one of you, what's your one advice if anybody looks up to you musically or artistically, or just coming upon this podcast and is like, hey, I want to hear something to distract me from whatever. What is your advice for anybody who's listening to this?
As far if
Just
they're
like
asking what now?
advice, like musically, artistically, or just personally, do you have any advice for anybody listening to this?
all of your worries about yourself and what you can do are shared by your favorite people who are doing that thing already. If you've got self-doubt about your music, you can guarantee that your favorite musicians have the same amount of self-doubt. Just fucking do it. And it's hard, but throw yourself at it and be honest, and cool shit can happen. Really cool shit can happen if you throw yourself at it and be honest. And if you want to play music and you're not actually going to shows to see music, you're not going to do it really. Yeah, it's community. It's not all give or all take. You be a part of things, be a part of that scene, whatever that scene is. I guess that's about it for me.
Robert?
Jeez. Okay. I had something, but I just got distracted by listening to Kieren. Advice. I'm thinking about the William Burroughs words of advice to
Right,
young
yeah.
people now, which as I've gotten older, I have reflected on, and he made some points that it makes a lot more sense now than on that age. Look, yeah, that was good advice, even if I didn't follow it.
Right.
My advice is gonna be and I don't know. You're
Keep
never
assuming.
promised tomorrow. Nobody's promised tomorrow, so do it now if you can, if you're able. Hip hop is more ACAB than punk. Don't get it twisted. Like listen to rap music if you want the people's music. Um, I don't know. Just pay no mind to gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Words of advice to young people.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be on my podcast. Again, this was a bit different. It was just a double interview, but you guys were working together and I was so excited and I'm really happy that you guys took the time to be on. I love your guys' music. Anybody who's listening to this, check them out. I really encourage it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. I really
Thanks heaps for having me, man.
All right, man.
Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
you.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, thank you guys.
Cheers. All right. Take care.